All right, we are live. Okay, now we get to do the other thing, which is check and make sure that it is streaming on Facebook the way it's supposed to, and that we actually have people watching us this time again. So let's start there. I think that's probably the best choice. Let's pull this over and let's close that. So, all right. We are live. We had a countdown this time, so that's something new. We've got nobody watching yet, so this gives me a chance to do some of these things that we need to do. Make sure that that is on. Make sure that we're streaming on New Media Lab. Yes, we are. It's going. Exciting. Okay. I have some topics today that I want to discuss, but I don't really want to start until we have other people on board watching and chatting because I know there are going to be questions. I know is going to be conversation. Let's see. I'm not even going to bother with that. And let's see what else happens here. Okay. And if I open this, I should be able to see this event in Facebook and see if there's anybody chatting there, because that's one thing that we have not figured out yet. Nope, it is going live. Live video is happening right now, two going. So we're just waiting for people to show up. And I actually have another idea. As long as we're doing this and as long as we're talking through it, I'm going to try something that I haven't done before. Let's see if this does anything. This would be really cool if we picked up some followers from this one little simple move. Goes back to that concept that I've talked about on here before. In fact, I think last week was a lot about pivoting and doing things on the fly. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. Not pivoting away, but pivoting towards something, trying something different. That did not go where I wanted it to. So let's go here, close that, open this, try this. And the most amazing part is Sarah's not here yet. Sarah, you've been on every one of these. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, let's try this. Nope, nope, nope. And we'll try that. We'll try that. We'll try that. And we do have a couple of followers, a couple of people listening right now, which is awesome. Let me go back to this and see if I can't open up our chat. There's a comment. Hey, Serena. Hi. So happy you're here. Actually, there are two people here. I don't know who the other person is yet, but Serena, we are, I have quite a topic today I want to talk about, which will work. Now, actually, as long as I've got you on, I know we've talked a lot about TikTok with you. Last night, Maeve, Molly, and I had a big discussion about TikTok, and a question had come up about whether you knew about this. Have you? One thing I'm going to ask you: have you ever? Do you have a TikTok shop? Do you sell through TikTok? I'm waiting. See if something. If you say something about it. And while I'm waiting on that, I'm going to keep trying to make this other thing work. Well, I lost somebody. Hopefully, I didn't lose you, Serena. I Oh, I did. Not at the moment. Okay, cool. That's funny. It just knocked you out of there, even though you were there. Because that's something that we're talking about is ways to utilize the shop feature, ways to do promotion that way, where you click on the thing and it can go right to your shop, and then collaborations. I was waiting until my story is finished. Makes sense. Although, couldn't you take some of your prints and have some of your prints available, your coloring book, things like that? Because I know that you've got products, or is that too difficult to do that way? I don't know how you sell them, but if you have products that you could sell, couldn't you set up a TikTok shop? And when you're doing like one of the challenges, the Mermaid Month or whatever, put the final result or results in your shop and then have them so that when you show them, people can click on it and buy it. Is that something? So I'm new to this. I'm working on this idea. Is that something that you think you could do? And while we're waiting on that, I am waiting on getting this thing to open. There we go. And there we go. All send communication. Cool. Um, yeah. So that's one thing. Another thing is going to lead directly into the topic, which is about topic creation. Okay, at the moment it's time consuming for that. I don't have the amount of products available to make that worth my time. I get that. That's why I was asking. I mean, there's lots of different ways you could do this. There's lots of ways you can sell things. I know that people put up different shops. I didn't know if for what you do, if that was something that worked right now, if like you said it was too time consuming, how you would supply the products. Uh, but I do know that I mean there are a lot of people that have Etsy shops that run it that way, and or they do Shopify, which is what I think you can use for TikTok. And maybe if you built up 10 or 20 prints, you could put them on there and at least have a shop that people could go to. Not in the moment. You're a little busy, but it is something to think about. It might be something that grabs. Now, when we're talking about TikTok and we're talking about collaborations, do you directly reach out to people to form collaborations? Is the all the communication done through video? Is it just you're doing stitching? What is it? Believe it or not, this is not the topic of the day. And let me see if I can find my share button for this because I've got some people that I want to share this with. It's funny, trying to figure this out as I go can be slightly tricky. Here's invite. There we go. And hey, forgive me while I write this. Then I'll be done and I can totally focus. But I can also answer your questions as I go. That's a whole conversation I've been meaning to have with you. Okay. Well, you know what? We really need to get it on the books to have you us go out to breakfast. Um, hopefully, last weekend, 2 weekends ago, we ended up having to go to a funeral. Uh, a good friend's mother passed away, so we were out of town. Things have been just kind of nuts, and we've got another pending one that we're waiting on. Uh, so it makes it a little tricky, but we need to get this on the books because, especially after the conversation we had last night, I think that we would have a lot. And you were sick for 2 weeks. Ugh. Now, do you have? Are you able? If I send you an invite, are you able to join me on StreamYard? At least to talk a little bit, or are you like, oh no, I'm not doing that right now? Either way, I just wanted to try the function out because I now have this cool function where I can have two people on, and we can have a live conversation. Uh, I am doing my. And I just got to sign it. Sent. Done. Now I'm back to fully paying attention to this show. And I can close Facebook too. Yeah, like live right now. If you just wanted to jump on and have a conversation, we do a split screen so I could at least try it out. But I don't want you to go, it's Saturday morning, Rob. You're crazy. I'm not ready for this. Or I'm not comfortable with that. I would never ask you to do it if you were uncomfortable with it. But I thought, hey, since we're having a conversation, it seems to be just you and I at the moment. We could do that and just have a little talk about TikTok, because that's obviously what we usually want to talk about. And think about it for a second. While we're doing that, I'm going to show you my other cool thing, because you weren't here last week to see cool things that I have brought to the table. I now have the ability to share my screen and do cool things like this. Bam. I was playing with earlier a whiteboard. So going forward, I'm actually thinking that we might do some of these where I actually create some of my uh, like little presentation things, and I can actually do it live on here, and I can show examples. In fact, I was doing something with that earlier today, and I'm going to remove that. Boom, we're back. And oh, hey, I should just have fun with this and do the other one too. As long as I'm doing it, open that up, open that up. Doing a little branding there too. I finally have a logo or a image that I like for this. If you've been paying attention, I've changed it multiple times already. Um, from a branding standpoint, that's not the greatest idea to do it, live on the fly the way I've been doing it. But I also didn't know that this was going to be something that I was going to be committed to every week, that I was going to feel so great about. I mean, I absolutely wait for this all week. And I know there are people that are on here that do the same because of the notes that I've gotten from people. It is funny to watch how the audience changes. Uh, like right now, I have only you, Serena. People have popped in, but they haven't stayed. Whereas other weeks, I've had up to like 8 people on here. I'll see people pop in, but I also see people that stay with the whole time. It's very interesting to watch how this is evolving. And it's interesting to watch how the show is evolving. We now have a logo. We now have a cover that I can use on things. When I say a logo, it's not actually a logo. The logo is going to be something different, which is the little loco icon, similar to, let's show you. There we go. Powered by StreamYard. That is a logo. So I will have a little logo sitting up in the corner going forward. Here, let's see if I can pull a different logo just to show you an example. And I'm not finding one quickly enough, so I'm not going to even bother with it. We're going to remove that logo, though. And we will remove the screen share. There we go. And yes, Serena, whenever you're ready, if we're at a point where we can actually jump in and talk, we will absolutely do that. And I want to close this too. Interesting. There we go. So, once again, before I jump into my topic, actually, I will. I'll just start talking about my topic because I think it's really interesting. So, this week, actually, let's go back in time. I had a project I've been talking about for a couple of weeks here that I've been working really hard on. In fact, it's probably been a month at this point, which is just like a complete overhaul of the social media thing and all these things that we're trying to put into play. Last week, starting on Monday, was the first chance we had to actually start implementing. It's been an actual. Oh, there's Sarah. Hi, Sarah. You missed nothing yet. I've been kind of stalling and talking to Serena. Once she puts her or gets her son all breakfast, she is willing to come on and do a split screen video so we can test that, which is exciting. And we're going to talk a little bit about TikTok because we've had some questions. But then back to what I was going to say, or what I was talking about. So we developed this very complicated social media strategy. It's the same thing I've been talking about in here about how you do that. Uh, Doing it for one thing is a lot easier than doing it for this massive thing, but at the same time, is it? It's just more, right? So I finally have that probably 80% completed. And I have someone I'm working with on it, which is great, which means we can now focus our attention outward. And one of the things that I have also harped on here a lot about is newsletters and the importance of having the newsletter, the blog, things that you can use to, oh, wait, there's Serena, that you can use to gain audience. And Serena, as soon as I see you on that little screen there, I can add you to the stage and then we can try this thing out. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited to try it. The other thing is we'll find out if my headphones have to be set up through my mic or through my computer. And I won't know that until you're on. So anyway, since that other project is, I wouldn't say it's winding down. It's hardly winding down, but the thought part of it is winding down. I don't have to spend as much brain power thinking up the basic structure of it. I'm now able to move on to other things. So I started really thinking about blogs and newsletters and what we're going to do in a couple of different areas, not only for my day job, we'll call it a day job, but for other things that I work on, and including our network, including Southgate Media Group. Because even though we're not producing the shows the way we were, even though we're not as active, yeah, that is hardly dead. And in fact, I had a couple of exciting things that I found in the last 2 weeks that I'm like, oh, maybe we're going to bring that back, and maybe I'm going to integrate some other things back into it. And we'll see if 2.0 happens in the next 6 months or so. So anyway, started talking about newsletters, started thinking about blogs, started thinking about creating content. And one of the things that has, I know it's a thing that stops me, and I have a feeling it's a thing that stops others, is that intimidation of how do I come up with topics and how do I keep it fresh? Because when you watch marketers on TikTok or Instagram and they give all their advice, when you go to YouTube and you're like, how do I do this? And you look up advice, a lot of it is either starting at, G, or it's starting, okay, Serena, I will let you know in a moment. It's either starting you at G. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm still at A. I don't know even what to do. Or they're giving advice that doesn't really, it works in their system. It's kind of like if I were to plug you into the thing I just developed for what I'm doing, and I said, okay, yeah, here's how you do it. And then I showed you this complicated mess. In fact, this just happened. I sent it to the person who's working with me, and I said, okay, here's what I'm working on. I want you to look at it, but know that I've been autonomous. I've worked in a silo for 11 years on this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I talk about it with Maeve and with Molly, but ultimately, this structure thing was in a silo. And she looked at it and she said, oh my God, I have no idea what all these numbers mean. She goes, I don't know how I'm ever going to understand this. I was like, no, you don't have to. And in fact, her saying that made me pare it down into something that now we went over it yesterday and she was like, oh my gosh, okay, this works. And we are turning the machine on. It's starting to work. Well, the same thing with blogs and newsletters and content creation. Sometimes people say like, hey, here's my complicated thing I've done in a silo, and you can't figure it out. I've been through this a number of times. Or they flat out don't tell you the truth about it because they don't want to look like, hey, I stumbled around in the dark to find an answer. As I've said before, marketing is trying things. They don't like to admit, hey, I tried 100 times and they failed, and then one time something worked. They prefer to say, here's how you do it. I prefer to say, stumble around in the dark for a while and try things that other people have done, try to come up with creative ideas, and what works and what doesn't work. Okay. So anyway, I'm thinking about blogs. I'm thinking about newsletters. I'm thinking about how to generate this content. And I mentioned watching these, like marketing on TikTok. right? I'm in the marketing talk, and I watch people all the time, and there's a lot of the same stuff. A lot of people trying to sell you something. Then there's this one woman who I followed, uh, who broke down a concept. She said, and she does very well. I looked her up. She does extremely well with her business, helping people do newsletters and marketing and all that, and email marketing. And she said, here's her thing was, here's how to have 365 days of content in 5 minutes. Okay, that's not exactly accurate, but what she said worked. I took it, I adapted it, and I've already changed it a little bit. And I want to talk about that process today. But first, Serena's ready. I've got her sitting here. So, Serena, I'm going to add you to the stage. We're going to see if this works. And you are muted and there's no camera. So, as soon as you are, we'll see what happens. Oh, you're gone. Okay. When you're ready, Serena, we'll try that again because it did work, or it tried to. So, we'll try that again when you can. Or, let's see, do I have an invite for you? Copy. Oh, maybe that was one of my students that was joining. Oh. Okay, let's see. Send this link to your guests. We want to share your instructions for guests. You can have 10 guests on screen. And I'm going to try emailing you. Once again, living and learning. We're figuring it out as we go along. Or maybe I can go to Messenger. Not available from here. Okay. So let me close that. Serena, I think I'm going to try to message it to you. I think that'll be fastest. Not if I try and do it from there. That is the wrong. Oh, I can't close the account. Shoot. Let's see if you're in here. No, it wants me to do Meta. Okay. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. So while I'm trying, I don't know if anybody has any questions we can start addressing. There you are, Serena. I'm going to send you a Facebook message with a link. See if this works. And if it does, I can add you to the thing and off we go. If not, our trial might have failed for today. I don't want to spend all the time in the world working on that. Do not worry. I am not forgetting the topic that I was talking about because it's pretty exciting with what I was doing. But we're going to try it again. And who else is here? We've got Sarah. We've got Serena. It looks like there might be somebody else watching. I wonder if Ben was one of my students. Let me throw a different thing out to them, because that actually might have put them in here rather than just watching, which is what I wanted. Let's go back to this and we'll try this. So I know I talk about the importance of being prepared. Guess what? This is the kind of stuff you're figuring out on the fly. It makes it a little bit tricky. Oh, Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea. Okay, we're going to go back to that. And J1 doesn't mean that these things don't mean anything to you guys when I say these things. They are things I have to do as a teacher. I'm going to actually invite my students in and see if anybody wants to watch. And let me pull you guys out here so I can talk to you while I'm doing it. It's easier. So while I'm looking, Serena, I don't see you on there yet. I did send you that message with that. If that doesn't work, that's fine. It must work to a degree though, because that other person was in here, and I don't think that was you. Yeah, interesting. And let's try these students again. And Oh, I don't want to manage my attendance. I'm in there with my students. I'm actually trying to do this with the students. There they are. All. Send a communication. And oops. Try this link. I know I'm boring. I'm having to do it all on the fly. Hey, Serena. Now,
Hey,
so let me switch to this.
you're okay.
I hear you. Excellent.
I
All
got
right. Maeve just told me I'm
dog down
boring. She's
there.
right. We're done with the boring part. Everything is all set. We just learned a lot, and this works. We're side by side. I love it.
Yay!
I love it, and thank you so much for being on, Serena. This is
You're
awesome.
okay.
So, Serena, you're an artist. Let's introduce you. It's
I got it on my phone. I'm trying to find a place to put my phone. There we go.
apparently Sarah wants to see your puppy. I think she thinks
Yes.
that's part of
He
the
hates
show.
it when I talk on the video because he wants to understand who I'm talking to. He gets very confused.
Yes, I understand. I was interviewing somebody yesterday, and
Okay,
it was
good
or 2 days ago. It was just a fantastic interview, and his dog kept popping its nose up here, and he was like, "This is just what's going to happen." I said, what does it matter? You know, we all have animals. You know, anybody that cares, tough. You know, it's not like we're
Yeah.
a huge production, and you know, you're at home. You got your animal. It shows where you
Yeah.
So,
And I'm still getting over this cold, so I'm like, oh, it's the morning. I look a hot mess, but it's okay. It's okay. It's like
no, you
three
look
people
great.
on here.
You look great. So, Serena's an artist. I've mentioned her before. I mean, you've been on in the chat a lot, but I talked about you before about how you had success with TikTok. Can you give a little background? Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and then talk about kind of your history with TikTok, how that happened?
Yeah. So before TikTok, calm down. Sorry. He's like, stop talking to the flower. I have this on the flower because it's high enough. So before I had my son, before TikTok, I worked, in comic books. I was a colorist for Vice Templar and things like that. And that was always, obviously my passion work. And of course, I had jobs on the side. So for many years, I was actually a manager at a portrait studio. So I did a lot of kids photography and things like that. I even worked in a hospital for a little bit, working with newborn infant photography. So I learned a lot about sales and marketing in a way there. And I always, and I worked other retail jobs too. And I always, as a manager, I actually bumped heads with certain other kinds of managers because I had a completely different outlook on marketing than they did. But mine always worked. You had your corporate offices like, push this coupon, push this, push this, push this, push this, and shove it in their faces and tell them all the little deals. And I'm like, if your product is good and you have belief in your product, it's going to sell itself. So I would show my girls when I would do portrait photography and things like that, I would show them like, be proud of your product for one thing, because if you're like, would you like to buy this?
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So I went off of many years of doing that. And I remember like one of the things they wanted us to push when I worked in the photography studio, which is at a mall, was like offer people a free picture. Hopefully they'll buy something. And I would send my girls out into the mall during the Christmas season and tell them to look for people who just had a bad experience with Santa. You can always tell they're dressed up and they look sad, or had a bad experience with like one of the other portrait studios in the mall. Because again, they're trying to get their family pictures. Usually these are the family pictures for the whole year. And just offer them a free picture. And every single time they're going to ask, well, what's the catch? And I told them to say, the catch is we actually do good photography and you're going to end up buying like $300 worth of stuff. And they'd be like, oh, and so they would come in.
Like you are that confident in your product. Like you're just laying it out there. I love that technique. That's great.
Yeah, and I remember the last Christmas season I worked there before. The company was doing fantastic. There were like people who headed the company that tried some type of scam at the time and ended up folding the whole thing on accident overnight. And they're like, sorry, we just put like an entire town in this area had a business. Like it was absolute craziness because the company was doing fantastic. But the last season that I worked there, during the Christmas season, my 2-bay little mall studio was competing sales wise with some of the biggest 4-bay studios in the rich parts of like the Chicagoland area.
Very
And
nice.
so
Very
like they were
nice.
like talking to me, they're like, what are you doing different? And I'm like, well, I, you know, love our product and I talk to customers like they're people. So when I went into TikTok, I kind of, I wasn't actually actively trying to sell anything. And that's where I kind of think I went wrong, because it was like, I didn't make any money off of TikTok at the time because I wasn't actively trying to sell something. I was just trying to learn about TikTok and, make acquaintances with other artists on Art Talk and things like that and figure out how it all worked. And it was during COVID, so I was bored anyway.
Yeah, why not play
So,
around? Yeah.
they were doing artists supporting artists, where artists were connecting with each other, because the way the algorithm works is if people like your video and share it, like sharing it gives you extra points, commenting on it gives you extra points, liking it doesn't do much.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, liking it just is like the bottom rung tier. Like people will like, sometimes they'll love, sometimes you tap on the screen, you get a big heart, that's extra love. If you share and comment on it, that's what makes things go viral. At least that's what it did back then.
Yeah.
So you got all these people and they're trying to make as many videos as possible. Well, that's also at the time was lowering their percentage of videos getting liked and shared. So it's not just about pushing out videos. There is some quality versus quantity. So I was playing with that because, again, from my standpoint as used to be a manager, I wanted to see how it all worked. And so I connected with other artists who would support, like, and comment on my work. And I would support, like, and comment on their work. And we were trying to see if we could push the algorithm to show our work to other artists and get in the right area.
I have a question right there. When you said you were doing this with the other artists, were you talking offline? Were you creating these relationships offline? So
I didn't know any of them. It was just the artist versus artist supporting artist community. And you have to, if you like a page and they like your page back, now you're friends.
Okay.
And you can talk to each other through chat.
Through chat. That's what I was going to ask. So you are actually having conversation. So if we had,
but we weren't like marketing with each other. Like, how do you do this and how do you push this? We weren't doing that a whole lot.
Okay.
We were just having fun.
Okay, cool.
And figuring things out together a little bit, and, some people would be like, oh, I had success. They're saying that, oh, to be successful, you have to post 3 videos a day. I was not posting 3 videos a day when my stuff popped off at all. I was doing everything wrong, theoretically, but that's how it was when I was at my work. Everybody was like, you're doing everything wrong. And I was like, I don't know. I think there's multiple ways.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. How, I prefer you to try things and to see what works. And the experts are usually, maybe it worked for them, or maybe this guy said it, so I'm going to keep regurgitating this idea. But I've not found any of that to be true. Posting times is a fun one. You always hear about posting times, right? And then I found out, I was reading a guy who does something, and he goes, as soon as I stopped worrying about posting times and just did it when it felt like the right time, my numbers went up.
Yeah.
It's like, I have no idea what the posting times are supposed to be. I'm like, that.
Well, the earth is round and TikTok is global. So if you're posting during certain times where your area is most active, they're going to connect you with people in your area.
Right.
What happened was, part of the thing was, when my coloring book and stuff went viral, I was actually connected with Europe for some reason. And a lot of my sales, more of my sales of my coloring book happened from UK Amazon going through Ingram Spark than I sold in America. And I'm like, come on, America, what's going on? Like, but they were like, so posting times, they're trying to pin you into a demographic and stick you there.
Right.
And we were a bunch of, anarchist artists who are like, let's try different things and let's mess with the algorithm. And then everybody's like, what did you do? And I was like, honestly, a bunch of wrong things. Theoretically.
Right. So,
but
so
we also
all the wrong things. But you did pop off.
Yeah, and that was also part, like, we kind of figured that part off too, because you have different TikToks. Again, they try to find your bubble and they stick you in that bubble. And I was exploring other bubbles, which means I was actively seeking them out. So some people go on TikTok and they're just trying to sell, sell, sell. But if you're actively looking at other people's accounts, they will show some of those accounts your stuff too. And if they cross,
okay.
yeah, again, it's all this algorithm thing. So I would tell people, like, people are like, how did you find all these people? How did all these people find you? I was like, well, I was also actively looking at their stuff. And then if a few of them in this new bubble popped off, it would get sent to all their friends. So when my video went viral, it went viral on multiple bubbles at once. It went viral on Witch Talk because it was a god and goddesses, a goddess book, a goddess coloring book. So it went viral on Witch Talk. It went viral on Pagan Talk. It went viral on Art Talk. It went viral on Coloring Book Talk. And I didn't even think about it before. It went super viral on Tattoo Talk. And I was barely on Tattoo Talk, but I had, like, I got it right here. Like, I like tattoos. I don't have any at the moment, but I like tattoos. And I had a couple goddesses that had tattoos. So, trying to find one. So I was over on Tattoo Talk looking at some of the tattoo stuff to try and make the tattoo work on my goddess look more natural.
Yeah, there you go.
And the guys on Tattoo Talk saw some of my art and just thought those would make good tattoos overall. So I had a lot of commenters going, can I get your artwork tattooed to me? And then, it's like, I would love to make some royalties from that. Like, probably not going to pay me to have somebody else tattoo my work onto your body. Like, that's a whole ethics issue. But I kind of just said to him, I was like, look, if you buy my coloring book and take that to the tattoo parlor, this is me saying you're allowed to as long as you buy my coloring book.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it popped off on Tattoo Talk, which that's when things got scary because it also from Tattoo Talk started working its way off to like one of the white supremacist motorcycle talks and things like that from there. And I started getting some really creepy guys coming on there, and I'm like, I'm getting over 1,000 likes and new feeds in like a minute, new people liking my page, and I was like, I don't like some of these people coming on here because they could steer you into the wrong talk and pretty quickly. Some of those guys are pretty creepy around women. So I had tried something else out, which I think I was mentioning to you. I took an antiviral where I posted a link to an Indigenous woman's page who was trying to share information about some topics that most people don't like to talk about. And the moment I linked up with her page, all viralness stopped.
Wow.
Like, and I don't mean it slowed down. I mean, it not only didn't show that first video, all my other videos came to a halt. Wow. Like the original couple videos that were still going viral, they were only being watched by people who had actively had that video shared with them. It wasn't showing my videos out because it was like, she showed from Indigenous talk. We need to watch out for this. Like, and it shows that internal bias of TikTok you got to be aware of because a lot of social media has that built into their algorithms and they deny it. But you got to remember who's building the algorithms.
Right.
It's going to be in there. And they don't want social issues going viral. They want pretty dancing kids and funny things and art going viral. So I did that and that stopped my viral. And a lot of people are like, why would you do that? It's like, I have to control my audience. I have to have social control over this.
Sure. I have an interesting question that I'm sure other people watching would have if they're not that in TikTok. You've mentioned all these different talks, right?
Yeah.
So here's what happens. Here's one of the things that's been kind of paralyzing for me when I'm looking at it. So after we had a conversation and I learned about all these different talks, I went on and I started noticing like, okay, I want to get more stuff from book talk, right? And I wanted to get more about marketing talk. But I don't know. I mean, there's a million different talks and I don't know how to even find them. But what I was
you gotta be careful with marketing talk.
Yeah, well,
because it's almost like what is it called? Those pyramid scheme talks where everybody tells everybody else how to do stuff, but they're making money off of you sharing. Yeah,
it's a bunch of garbage. Although the person I was talking about earlier, is not doing that at all. And her advice, her stuff is great. And yeah, she has a marketing business, but I have yet to feel like she's, like, here, do this and buy my system. She's giving solid advice. And then she does some fun things on her site too. Uh, and it's funny when you said that now you can talk to them. I just saw that. Now I haven't posted a damn thing on TikTok yet, but I have an account, obviously. I followed her. She followed me right back. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I can chat with her. Now I know I can because I want to invite her on a show. But yeah, you've got to be careful. So anyway, that is actually the point. I was afraid. Now I'm following Book Talk and I'm following Marketing Talk, and I don't know like how many I can be in. What's going to poison my well? I watched the thing about the Miami aliens the one night, and then all of a sudden my whole feed was aliens, and I'm like, I just wanted to see this one
they
thing.
watch you. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like the whole algorithm thing. It'll check your feed and see what you're interested in, try and show you stuff that it thinks you're interested in.
Yeah. Now I wonder also if, let's say we had all the people that watch this. Okay, so we have I don't know, 10 people that say to be regulars, and if all 10 had TikTok accounts and we made sure, hey, when you post, I'm going to make sure it shows up in my friends that are posting thing, and I'm going to make sure I comment on each one. Would even as low as 10 people have an effect? I bet it would.
Probably.
So do you find that there are pods like that? Or is it
I mean,
more organic?
it's much more organic. And again, it's really like it's like a forest. It's like a forest. Certain trees drop seeds near them, and you're going to get pods of those trees near each other. And some of them will blow away in the wind. You'll find them elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like think of a forest. Like things do pop up organically. You're going to get your little groves. I forgot two very big talks in there, which is also neurodivergent talk. That was one of my bigger talks that I'm on. And of course, the LGBTQ. I'm dyslexic. The
LGBTQ.
Yes, that community is super wonderful on TikTok too, and mostly super supportive and very eclectic. So even in those, you get your subgroups of talks.
Yeah.
So you've got book talk, but you also have a subgroup of LGBTQ plus talk and neurodivergent book talk, and those all like mesh around too.
The way you get in there is watch
the videos, comment, like, share. Sharing is a big one.
Because all I did was I kept watching them and I'd put like a like on it. I didn't know that didn't have as much of an effect. Now that I know, there are people that I love what they're doing, I'm going to make sure I'm commenting on it.
Yes.
Let's see. Chelsea said, I have a couple other authors and some Reader Talk people that like most of my videos, rarely comment or share. One of them being me, Chelsea. I tend to be one of them that just does the like thing. But now that I know, a comment and a share, it's just like anything else. Now that I think about it, I would always say that with podcasts. It's one thing to sit there and it shows up on Facebook and you hit like. Oh, I liked it. That doesn't do me any good whatsoever. It does nothing. Share it, make a comment. It pushes it in front of people every time. Yeah, me too, Chelsea. Look at Serena. You should be a TikTok ambassador. You've made it so we're now commenting and sharing. I might have missed this, but the hashtags on TikTok make a big impact. That's a great question.
Yeah, like anything else, it helps you find things. So if you're sharing stuff and you hashtag and you name something a hashtag, you can search it, and that helps you find it. Because again, the best way to get into different TikToks or to share your stuff is to also search them. So to a degree, yeah. If you, I always forget the hashtags. I really do.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of those things too that people get confused on what keywords are versus hashtags and how they find them. I want to talk about that real briefly. There is one thing that I've used, and I know this is a Twitter thing, but it is an effective thing, is hashtagify me. Can I share it on here? How can I share it on here? Add item. Let's see. Wouldn't it be fun? Nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, cancel that. I'll put it in my banner. Hash. I really need a producer. That would really help. There we go. Add banner. Let's see if it shows up. and show. There we go. Hashtagify me. So Hashtagify me is a website that don't pay for it. Just use it for free. And you can go in there and you can type in a topic. So let's say, Serena, you did mermaids or mermaid art. It'll show you other hashtags that people that are looking for that or that have used it are using. And that's when you start getting into some of that marketing fun, which is like, okay, this one's used a lot, this one's used a little. Which one do I want to use? Like, if you always go for the ones that are used the most, you're now in a huge sea of them. If you go
Yes.
too low, they might have looked once in 30 days. Well, that's not doing you any good either.
And you can see how many times that hashtag has been viewed when you type it in there, because they'll show the different versions. Like there was like 6 different hashtags for artists supporting artists. And they started to change as people got onto there because, you know, one person would do artists supporting artists and spell it slightly wrong, but that still got copied because it'll automatically show that up. And suddenly that one's trending more.
Yeah.
So you can look at the hashtags and figure it out, you know, like mermaid for mermaid, the mermaids. I just put mermaid, but put the year so they can find the year, but also still put the hashtag mermaid. So if people don't put in the year, they can still find it too.
Did you use like Hashtagify me to find that?
No, I for TikTok, I just looked what other people were using that were doing the same event and copying a lot of the stuff they were doing because that was the stuff trending at that moment.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say. There's 2 other techniques that I've used that seem to be effective, which is other than Hashtagify me, and there are other ones out there, but that's the one I've kind of gravitated towards. One is look at who's popular, who's posting the same subject that it's working. Oh, your dog is fine. I think your dog might be the most popular part of the show right now. Chelsea
is not leaving me alone, but he won't come over here. He's very concerned that I'm talking to a plant.
And Chelsea, the reason I said even Chelsea's even because you missed the conversation earlier where the dog was on camera. We've talked about the dog, and now Chelsea, you've come late to the party, and you're talking about the dog. So I think we may have a new mascot. I'm on that site and it says they're not allowing new registrants and it keeps bouncing. Might be just glitching on my end. You know what, Sarah? I'm going to work on it. It did change at one point. I went in there and they made it all pay, and I'm like, wait, what's wrong? Then I went back and it worked. They may have shut down. Don't worry about it. Here's my other 2 pieces of advice. Look and see what other people are using. I'm going to find a new hashtag source for you, for everybody here. But look and see what people that are doing things that are working are doing, and just steal their hashtags. There's nothing wrong with copy and paste their hashtags. Boom. What my trick was for each of the podcasts is once I figured out like, oh, the Superman podcast is popular out there is using these hashtags. I copied them. I put them in a file. They're sitting in a Google Doc now. So every time we posted something, just copy and paste them. Boom. Those go on there. And if there's something specific to it that we wanted to add, this time they talked about Smallville. Okay, we take Smallville and we add those hashtags in, but we always have those running hashtags that always work for us. Now, that's one thing. The other thing, outside of Hashtagify me, and this sounds like the craziest thing, I would just go to Google and I'd type in most popular Superman podcast hashtags. And believe it or not, there are sites that give you these incredible lists that you just copy and paste, and you go, this is everything. These are the ones everybody's using. These are the ones that are working. So there, don't even use Hashtagify me. Just go to Google and type in best hashtags. There's actually a site that they pull from that puts it in a block so you can just copy and paste. So there's some advice on that. So it does work on TikTok.
Yeah,
but you personally don't think about it that much.
Well, it's always like it's almost an afterthought, you know. Sometimes I forget to do it, and then sometimes I have like a wall of them because I'm just trying to put whatever was on there. But again, I haven't been on TikTok as much recently because, again, with the rise of AI going and things like that, I'm not sharing. Like I was sharing a ton of my progress for the coloring book because I wasn't worried about it, and I wanted people to come along the journey of me making my first coloring book. So they saw every part of that process.
Right.
And I was showing them, you know, the character design part of my process and starting to get into some of that. And then I was like, I have to stop because AI is getting onto TikTok. AI is getting everywhere. These are very original characters.
Yeah.
So I kind of just backed off a little bit. But one quick thing about the hashtag thing I want to say that just popped in my mind. I don't know, something you said just reminded me of it. There was a thing because people will use on TikTok like commercialized hashtags, like certain like Snickers will have an event or
Yeah,
something
right,
like
right.
that, and they'll have a thing, and everybody will pop on there, even though it doesn't have much to do with the event because it's
Yeah,
trending right then.
shooting. Yeah,
You
right,
could,
right.
yes. There was a couple, again, TikTok's a big one for trying to raise awareness for certain social issues. And there was one particular social issue that had happened that they were trying to raise awareness for. It went viral. The hashtag went viral, and suddenly all these people popped on the hashtag and drowned out the social issue
Oh,
with their random stuff. So if you
right.
searched it, you got all these other people going viral for their own things
Yeah.
and none of the stuff that was pertinent. So on TikTok, they are using that as a platform to get information out for certain things, which of course you have to be careful and, research the information
Right.
because you never know which side of TikTok that information is coming from.
Right, right, right.
But for some important issues that you don't want to risk drowning out other people by using a hashtag just because it went viral. And this one was a very unassuming hashtag, so people didn't know what it was about,
Okay.
and they all jumped on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to be careful with that, but it is good to do a little of your hashtag research and add them in. And once again, like you said, you don't really think about it. If you had a Google form that had, here's some preset ones. I know what I'm doing with my art stuff. I've got 10 hashtags. And I wonder about that. I'm not going to jump away from this to find this out, but I wonder what kind of the limits are. Because I know with Instagram, the difference between Instagram, Twitter, in the community, if you used more than 3 hashtags, people thought you were spammy and
Oh no,
would
you
have
can
a
do a
problem.
wall of them. You
So
can do a wall of them.
Instagram used to be that way. Then it went to a very specific number. It had to be, if you were over 17, you dropped out of the algorithm, even though they didn't tell you this. People started figuring that out. Now it's a
Oh,
different number. And I don't know what the number is currently, but I do know the other thing that you used to be able to do was to get around it, you could put them in the comments and you could go up to like 45 hashtags by going comment, hashtags, comment, hashtags. Now, if you
I
do
think on
that,
TikTok, if you comment on your own, they don't like that as much unless
okay.
you're responding to somebody. That starts because they think you're trying to boost your own numbers, so they
Yeah, yeah.
purposely like.
Interesting. So doing it, but on TikTok, you could just do a wall of them. It doesn't matter because it's all at the bottom of the video. You have to click on it to see it anyway.
Yeah, they originally only had so many letters you can use, and then I remember right before I got off, that's when they started to say, "Oh, we added all these extra letters. We want you to use as many hashtags as possible," because they were trying to help people. Because
Right.
TikTok got so big, they were trying to help people find their bubbles.
Yeah,
But
right, right.
then, people like me, I'm like, no, no, I want multiple bubbles because that helps me get out there more.
Right.
So they're trying to, and TikTok was also starting to suppress videos a little bit more when I started to wean off a little bit too, because beforehand they let it grow organically wherever you wanted. But now they're like, oh, we're going to start selling stuff. We don't want people's stuff just going viral because they're awesome. We want people's stuff to go viral because they hate us for
Right.
advertising spots. So that's when they mentioned like we're gonna start a little bit more active suppression, like they weren't already suppressing things to begin with.
Yeah,
They
that's a
tried to
slippery
deny it.
slope though, because
It is a slippery slope.
it's what caused a lot of exodus from Facebook. It's one of the things that has turned Twitter into a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Or
That's why I get a little nervous.
before it
I
turned
get a
into a
little
true
nervous about
dumpster
that.
fire, that was already
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah, that's why I get a little nervous about the TikTok shops. I'm hearing about that. I have not tried it yet. All the artists I know do Linktree, and they can go straight to wherever their shop is.
Yeah, I'm a big
But
fan of Linktree as well. But I do think that we're going to be exploring the shops thing because I think that could be a really interesting thing. Now, if they start charging you to advertise it, to put that on there, that's when it starts to get a little bit sketchy. Sarah wrote, "I'm going to experiment with making a TikTok post today. Such an overwhelming platform. Not sure if that's the same for anyone else." It is, Sarah. It is for me. It is for pretty much anybody. I think I'm settling into being out of touch. Try to be 55. Uh, it's that world where
if
I have to turn my
if you
phone over to
find
my daughter all the time.
if you find your community, you can literally make your first post. Hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to find the artist community. I'm trying to find the book talk community. Can you guys help me out? That way I can, and then do a couple videos showing what you do so they can go to your page and see who you are and make sure you're a real person. And then a lot of them, they will actually help guide you over there.
Yeah, see, that's great advice. And actually that goes hand in hand with something that I've said a million times on here already, and I'm going to say it again today, which is don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to just put it out there. So that first video is the hardest thing. It's same thing with podcasters. I would have podcasters all the time. That's how we ended up with so many. They would tell me, I really want to do this, but I'm so afraid to do it. I'm going to screw it up the first time. And then if you get off on the wrong foot, you're screwed. And I'm like, that is the opposite of true. Look at this show. I launched this thing. I mean, even today, I'm still screwing things up. I got called boring by Maeve today because I was fumbling through the beginning. I'm not afraid to put it out there and try things and to figure it out as I go along. If you make a misstep, you ended up with white supremacists following you. That's a bit of a misstep, not on your fault, right?
But, and then you're going, artist community, bring me home.
Yeah, right. You can be vulnerable and be like, okay, how do I change this? Or how do I say, I'm going to do an antiviral and stop it? Nothing is going to be a death sentence unless you let it be. You know, if you're being yourself and you're being honest about it and you're leaning into your community, they're going to lift you up. They're going to help you there.
Yes.
So don't be afraid, Sarah. Don't be afraid. And now I know you do a bunch of stitches and things. I know we're going to run out of time. I didn't even get to my big topic. But you do a lot of stitches in that. Do you find that bumps numbers as well?
Again, it can if you stitch the right people. Like I said, I did that stitch as my antiviral, just knowing it was a community topic they didn't like touching on a social platform, which is Indigenous people's struggles. So I was trying to share her. So I was like, well, if I'm going super viral, at least I can get her a few more boosts, a few more people on her book post and boost it a little bit. And it completely shut it down. I was like, okay, I didn't want to kill myself. That was an overdose. I was hoping to bring it down slowly and get over. I was like, that was too much. So you got to kind of look at the people you're stitching to, because there are some people where they are promoters and they're doing a lot of videos and they're really popular, and every other person is stitching them too. So instead of 3 people getting 600,000 views, you've got 400,000 people getting 2 views.
Right.
Because they're all stitching the same person. So it's all kind of just feeling it out. And that's what I like about it is it almost feels, because you're doing videos, you're almost more vulnerable than on other platforms. And that brings in this kind of trust a little bit. And so I don't know, it feels slightly more real over there, but at least that's the talks I'm on,
Yeah,
but then you got your TikTok influencers who act more like Instagram and everything is fake. So I'm not on those talks, and there's millions of people on TikTok. So it's like you got all these people and they want to go on there and just be heavy into marketing. You're going to be on the heavy marketed side of TikTok and not over where people can help you.
Right.
Because nobody wants to watch 600 videos of someone trying to market their product.
Right.
So,
right.
And that's why I didn't sell anything on there, was because I wasn't actively trying to sell a product right then.
Yeah. That goes back to that idea that I beat the drum about too, which is the 80-20 rule, which works. If you're going to try and sell your book, your CD, your artwork, do 4 posts that are not selling your artwork, and then you can do 1 that is.
Yes.
Out of 10, it's 8 are not selling, 2 can be. And with those 2, don't make them the same thing. If you have this great ad you've created or great concept, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's all about this print I made. You better have more than 1 version of that, so that when people scroll through, they're seeing it's a different version. Yeah, you're telling them to do the same thing, but you're doing something different with it.
Yeah, and you kind of got to disguise it a little bit, because if TikTok senses you're making an ad and you're not paying for an ad, they'll suppress that video, which will bring down the numbers from your other video. So if you see on my, some of my reels from when I was doing my coloring book, I would be like, hey, I'm an artist, I did this. And then it shows the book. And then if people ask me in the questions, where do I get this? Type. So it's a little bit more work than go to my link tree. Most people don't even mention their link tree because they'll start to flag like, oh, this person's selling. So
Oh,
it. You kind of got to be on the down low with that.
So, Serena, we've run out of time. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this impromptu interview. Sorry if it was boring in the beginning because I was really stumbling through this. This is our first week with this setup the way we have, but boy, did it work well. Uh, I'll definitely have you back to talk, but I hope to see you in the chat. And I love that you guys are chatting and asking questions. We'll be back next Saturday with the next one. And I'm actually thinking because Serena, because this worked, I'm going to try something different going forward. I'm going to actually ask the person that I was just talking about, who I was reading her stuff, and I was going to share today. I was going to talk about today. I'm going to see if I can get her to come on as a guest for maybe a half hour next week. My newsletter, Pour Over Marketing, is on Substack. How cool is that? Did that work?
That's
Are you
cute.
seeing it? That is, I've done one post so far, but it's actually getting a lot of shares. I have a whole list of things I'm going to start writing about, and we're going to get a lot more active with that. And that's what I was going to talk about, was how I all of a sudden was like, oh, I was struggling with coming up with a topic each week that I felt comfortable with, and now, bam, I've got a million topics I can play with. So join my newsletter, follow New Media Lab on Facebook. That's this. I will be expanding out to social media, and I'll share that here as well. If you Sarah, I know you know, and I know Serena, we've talked about it. Chelsea, I don't know if we've talked about this, but if you do want to get, and anyone watching, if you want to get a free session to do some coaching, want to find out if I can actually help with what you're doing with marketing and that, reach out to me. You can contact me through New Media Lab. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can contact me there. On Twitter at Rob Southgate. Oh no, at R Southgate. I'm at Rob Southgate on Instagram. So you can find me. It's not hard. If you're watching this, just click into the comments and you're going to get to me. And again, Serena, thank you so much. I'm probably going to reach out to you. I just had a thought. I'm going to reach out to you for your socials. And I just realized today, actually, I saw that these videos are living on Facebook. I'll put them in the comments on Facebook so people can follow you. And please follow. And what else are we going to do, everybody? We are going to comment and we are going to share. And we're going to do that for each other. And we're going to start building everybody up on there. If you like what somebody's doing, I've got some book talkers that now I'm like, ooh, I got to do these today. I'm so excited to do that to help them out. So share and comment, share and comment. Again, thank you so much. This was awesome, Serena. And everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Let's see if I can do this